All right, that brings us to our discussion agenda, and item number 15 are the proposed superintendent's goals for 2016, 2017, shown in Exhibit F.
Thank you. At our last board meeting, you conducted my annual evaluation based on my goals for the 2015-2016 year, and I would like to publicly thank you for your affirming comments and your assigning me a superior rating for the previous year. I'm very grateful for that, and I assure you that I will work very hard to make sure that I am once again worthy of your confidence and your nice, kind words of affirmation. The goals I'm presenting to you for the current year are very, very similar to the goals that we had for the past year. I think they reflect what you all have worked on previously and reflect what your expectations of me are. The one that did not carry forward was the one for our strategic plan, which was completed, so that does not continue. The others are very much extensions of the work that we've been doing for the past couple of years. I'll be happy to entertain any questions you have and to accept any suggestions you have for making this an even more robust document.
Ms. Hutchison.
I'm not sure that I'm suggesting that this be a stated goal, but can you tell us where we stand with some of the early childhood education? I know we added a class to one of the elementary schools. Do we have any further plans to go beyond that?
Well, you know, we added one paying kindergarten 4K class this year, and a couple of years ago, I think it was 2013, we added 6 or 7 additional early childhood classes. And at this point in time, we know that there is probably an adequate demand for more paying early childhood. One of the things we have to consider there is where, do we have space in order to offer that? So it's not stated as a specific goal, but certainly we are committed to providing early childhood education to as many of our students as we are able to do.
With the free programs, I know it's based on test scores. Do we have any, what's the feel for how many students that we can't serve that really should be there?
I think that would depend on your definition of, who needs to be there. And
right.
my belief is that virtually all students would benefit from the kind of quality 4-year-old program that we provide. I believe, I'm looking at Dr. Milton, but I think we have 13 sections, is that correct? How many? 16 sections that are offered at no cost to parents. And do we have parents who would like that we turn away? I think the answer to that is yes, we do. But I would say our cutoff, depending on how you would define high or low, we serve more students probably than would meet the state criteria for being highly at risk. Mm-hmm. But that said, there are many, many students who would benefit from having it, even if they aren't testing, if we know that they're already on the road to being proficient, but we could certainly serve more. Again, I think the big issue is space.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Well, I know that probably everyone on this board supports it, but we have to be practical and figure out where to put them and whether or not we can afford it. But I think it really is an important function that our school district does, and I'm very delighted to hear that we have 16 sections. That's
16 sections where people go without cost,
right.
And then we have 2 sections where people pay. And I think we could fill at least one more section of people's paying. The research I think is very clear about early intervention, and we know that, and I think that's one of our tickets to continued success here in this district, is that we've got to get to our students early and get them onto the road. And I think one of the things that this district does phenomenally well is the whole issue of literacy. I think our system knows how to teach students to read, and they know how to correct deficiencies that students have who are experiencing barriers to reading. But we, like everybody else, are living in a world where there's more transiency than ever before. People are coming and going, and we have increasing numbers of English language learners. So the more we can serve, the better it will be for them long term. On a related, only semi-related to that story, but it prompted me, I want to share with you an experience I had at Irmo High School on Thursday. I went to see the actively learning app in action. And I went to a German 4 class, and I was so blown away by the proficiency of these students. But there were about four rows of students, and at the front of 3 of those rows were 3 young men. And the teacher said to me, "You might want to talk to these young men and just ask them their own personal stories." Come to find out, the 3 of them were brothers. They have been in the country less than a month. I think they'd been in the country 3 weeks. When I spoke with them, they were proficient in 5 languages. They were coming to us from Austria, but they had lived in other countries, and their parents are natives of the African Republic of Congo. They were so impressive. And so Mr. Regal told me that the first thing that he did was to make sure that they had them signed up for the PSAT, because he knew that they were going to help the school's scores selfishly. But again, I think it's 5 languages that they speak. But he shared with me that one of the difficult things, as we have students who come to us from other countries, because of some of the requirements that they have, and because they're just getting settled in the country, we don't always hang on to them from the time they arrive until the time they graduate. So the same thing happens when they come to us at age 4 or age 5. We hope we can keep them forever. So that's one of the keys. We want to get them early and keep them.
Thank you.
I'm sorry you got
No,
more
no,
than
no,
you
no.
asked.
I think we all enjoyed hearing that.
I'm like my dad. You put in a quarter, I'll talk forever.
Ms. Hammond, you had a question.
Under the first goal, performing effective recruitment, retention, and evaluation practices for certified staff. I know we already do a really good job of that. I think my major question is, do we have any new ideas for the anticipation of the teacher shortage that has already been predicted, by Molly Spearman and just the information they have? Because I do think, I know we have the recruitment fair. I mean, I'm familiar with things we're doing right now. I just wondered, with Dr. Hefner's very active, good brain on how to best,
I would say that certainly is always a
Yes.
work in progress. That's something we'll have to redouble our efforts
Yes.
on. I can tell you that we know that that's real.
it is real. I
And
won't say that.
I think, the good thing in the short term is that we're very close to being fully staffed. We have people coming and going, but we rarely have more than 6 or 8 vacancies. I had occasion to go to one of our competitor website last week and looking for some information, and I noticed that they had probably 30 vacancies. So I think comparatively we're doing well, but it's going to be a continual effort, and that's something that I would have to present to you as evidence at the end of the year that we're working on. Do I have the answer today? I do not.
But I'm so glad that it's on here, that you know it is something that, even though we've had a great track record, it is something to always anticipate the future. But also in this, the evaluation practice, I wanted to sort of get an update. You know, I understand about the SLOs, and I understand it too is a moving target and a work in progress from the superintendent of education down. I just kind of wanted an update as to, this year, do you think we'll finalize what District 5 is going to do in evaluating teachers? Because you know from the forums, I know the candidates that are running and the candidates that are not on the board but running have heard that question. And I just wondered, since that's here in the go, if we can, is it a point where we can really tell teachers exactly how that evaluation will go?
If it's, we haven't been able to give an exact answer in a long time, so I don't want to be nailed down to an exact answer. Dr. Jakes is working on our SLO issue, so is there anything you'd like to offer there?
It is an angst to teachers, Dr. Jakes, you know that, and I appreciate your answering that question.
It certainly is a work in progress, and we continue to look to the State Department to give us those parameters and that guidance. They've been collecting information, surveying teachers, and so they're still putting those pieces together. So we're very much attuned to that and very much interested in making sure that it's as streamlined as possible for teachers and not a burdensome process, but a meaningful process. So we continue to listen and stay tuned, but as soon as we get that finalized information, we'll be ready to move forward.
And to piggyback that, the new initiative, I think, is that 5 years teachers have to get that, it's not literacy, what's the name?
Read to Succeed.
Read to Succeed, thank you. And I think I'm very excited about, I think that kind of would go along with this goal, that we are looking at a way to know which teachers need it first and to take care of those teachers for recertification, because by a certain year, they all have to have it. So we will try to have the summer or the different times. I just want to be sure I'm telling my teachers right. And that's a goal that is with the district.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
If I could add to that, there was a news clip today, and I think it's Every Student Succeeds Act. There's going to be an update through the State Department. Mr. Bounds, you know when that is going to be this week, but it's a tune in one evening.
Mm-hmm.
That's something we all could
Saw
do.
that.
I don't remember the date, but look at today's news clips.
Thursday night.
Thursday night, okay. So that'll be an update on that piece.
Because,
We got
Mr. Gann, if I could just say, and I know the other board members are in tune and stay up to what teachers go through, because you hear it here in the things you read, but I really do think that because they keep, from the State Department and the federal government, they keep giving more and more directives, we'll say, to teachers who, a lot of times, who feel very professional. They're already trying to do their best, and sometimes it's just added work, as Dr. Jake said, that they're going to be aware of that. And I think that would be one of our ways where we will outsmart other districts, because teachers know that in our teaching environment, they feel very supported, and we don't just find some new thing, an initiative, having 3 or 4 in 1 year for a group of teachers that already feel overwhelmed. And so I'm just so glad, and I know Dr. Melton's the same way. I feel really good about your staff in that, but I just can't say enough about how angst, even teachers in our district share with me, that they worry so much about so many more things added all at one time before they get one thing done. It's something new they have to do in a different way, but it's really the same thing they've been doing for years if they're a good teacher.
And one more, I'm not meaning to jump into these goals, but Dr. Melton, aren't you serving on the superintendent's advisory group on the teacher evaluation piece that's so much sort of in limbo at this time? I feel very fortunate we have you and others involved in that process, but
There are several committees happening at once that are work committees they consider, but I had the opportunity to be in one of the committees that's working with higher ed, look at the certification piece to make sure that we're aligning what higher ed is doing with the federal government to make sure we're meeting all the expectations that they have for their reaccreditation at the university level as well. So we're fortunate to be tapped into for various committee meetings. We have a chance to give our voice to make sure we're being supportive of not just our teachers, but teachers across the state as well. Thank you.
thank you. Are there other questions? Ms. Baumgartner, regarding the goals?
Well,
Comment.
comments, and Ms. Hutchinson brought up the need for our early childhood education, but also I see Ms. Greer out in the audience. And I'm very proud of what we have done with adult ed, because a lot of times we forget the people that leave us in the 12th grade. And, and I think that I don't quite see it in the works. I know it helps with the dropout rate and things like that, but we do, when I go to the adult ed graduation, it's always a highlight of my year as a school board member, and there's just a lot to be excited for you. And she just made me think of that. And I don't quite see it in the rates, and I don't know how we can, but it is something that I want to commend you on.
Maybe it's something we need to take a look at how we incorporate it into the goal. It's one of those things where we don't want to push kids out to send them to adult ed to bump up our adult
Right.
ed numbers.
No,
So,
no.
But we can think of an appropriate way to say it, and I too echo what you say. I'm very proud of the comprehensive adult education, community education program we have in this district. I think it's a model. And going back, I do appreciate your foresight in setting aside some space for them at Irmo High, because before that, they were always pushed from pillar to post, and now they have their own location within that facility, and I think that's helped a whole lot. I know it certainly helped with our staff.
Mine's a different goal.
Different goal?
Would you like it anywhere? It's a different goal. I have a question.
Well, and then we're kind of wondering how to, because, again, you don't want to push numbers out of school in order to get into adult ed, but,
I misunderstood. I thought you
No,
had
I'm sorry.
another
No,
question.
I was,
about the
I thought we had that one answered. I had one that's a different goal,
Okay.
question,
Okay.
comment, if you're finished with
Yes,
that one.
yes.
Thank you. Under 6, Dr. Hefner, the enhancement of mental health services and referrals to students and families in crisis. I don't know if this would be right there, but I had a question because I see it so very much, especially in middle school, where there's such a need for the counselor. And I just want to be sure, do we have, I guess we have one counselor in each of our schools, or if we have a larger school population, do we have more than one guidance counselor in those? I didn't know.
It's based on how many, what the numbers are. We meet the requirements of law, and
So the largest schools have 2? More than 2, okay. And so I think one, and I know it isn't there, but it could go there, like the bullying procedures. And I know we have been very proactive in that. But I would like to say that I still think there's always more we can do with the bullying and identifying it. And I think that what happens is become a real catchword even for students when maybe it really isn't. Do they all understand the real meaning of bullying? So sometimes I think there should be some education, and I see Mr. Harris nodding his head. I was just thinking that would be a really good place to be sure we educate students and parents, and really even teachers, a very definite definition of that, because it is, it does fit under a definition. And I think sometimes you get kids just saying it because it's the buzzword. And I'll tell you, middle school kids do it just to get another kid in trouble. So I think we really need education there for our parents and students to understand what it is. And I don't know if that should burden back to teachers, or should it be more of a school-wide initiative where, through a homeroom or I don't know, different things schools have. But I just would like to see that somewhere under that we have, that we put a highlight on that. Even though we think we're doing a lot for it, I think it's something that we cannot do enough of. I just want to share that.
Any other comments for Dr. Hefner? Dr. Hefner, I know this is a work in progress, is that correct?
that's correct.
So if a board member thinks of something they'd like to send to you to
Yeah, I
consider,
can send that to you.
would you say that we're probably on the 14th, you're going to probably come with some finalized goals.
I will.
That's your, so
I'll be
that's-
happy to incorporate whatever you want me to incorporate. I do want to remind you of this fact. I think the more goals we have, the less likely it is that we focus on the things that are most important. And so I think
Which is
we
teaching
have
and
9
learning.
big goals with lots of subparts. Last year we had 10. So I think, my hope is that you really, really concentrate me on what it is that I need to do most.
I got it.
And again, it is a work in progress. It's not meant to be, it's not something I'm giving you as cast in concrete. But tell me what it is that you think I need to clarify or be more explicit about or add to make it be more in line with your expectations.
It's a great thought. I'd ask everybody to give it some thought, try to give any input to Dr. Hefner. And I will tell you, I've been involved in a similar situation on the statewide level, and having 9 goals is probably twice as many goals as the situation I've been in with somebody. So there are great things going on, but we have expanded. All these would happen anyway. Maybe there's a way to have the main goals and then duties as required. So
That's number 10.
number 10.
Yeah,
Well,
number 10.
everybody do think about that, and I think it would, and you think about that too. If there's a way for you to suggest to us, we're always open to that. Any other comments on the superintendent's goals? Well, I'll remind everyone that our next regular meeting will be at Spring Hill High School on November the 14th, and I would entertain a motion that we adjourn. Ms. Baumgartner,
I move that we adjourn.
we have a second. Mr. White seconds. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to remind the board members, I just found my little donation form for the snack pack program that mine kind of got lost in some papers, so if yours got lost in your papers, you might want to dig through like I had to dig through.
Great. And I will tell you, since Ms. Hutchinson brought that up, Mrs. Height has helped me remember the snack pack donations and all. And something that we all need to remember, I think that a lot of us do the payroll deduction piece of that, but you have to sign up for that every year, so keep that in mind. All right, so with that, we've had a motion and a second, and we had a little bit of discussion, but everybody in favor of adjourning, please raise your hand. And thank you all for being here tonight.